Stop wasting weeks trying to learn SketchUp the hard way. If you are a complete beginner and want to understand SketchUp once for all, this is the only video you need. In just one focused hour, I break down the entire large toolset step by step, tool by tool, with zero confusion. By the ending of this training, you won't just know SketchUp, you will master almost 90% of it and feel confident using it. If you can give me 1 hour, I will give you the foundation of SketchUp for life. When you open SketchUp for the first time, you see a screen like this. At the top, it says create new model, which means you can start a new model. Here, you can also choose the measurement units, inches, meters, centimeters, or millimeters, depending on what your project requires. At the bottom, it says recent files, which shows your previous projects if you want to continue working on them. Since this is the first time, I will choose meters from the architecture templates. Once you select it, you will see a complete blank white SketchUp workspace ready to start modeling. The first thing you should do in this workspace is activate the most commonly used tools in SketchUp called the large tool set. Go to the view menu, then click the toolbars, and from there click the box next to the large tool set to activate. Once you enable it, all the essential tools will appear on your screen, making it much easier to start modeling. Guys, you can create an entire SketchUp model from start to finish using just these tools. In this tutorial, we will go through each tool step by step so you can fully understand how they work. Once you master these tools, modeling in SketchUp becomes much easier and more efficient. Keep in mind, if you don't understand these tools, you won't be able to model properly in SketchUp. The workspace we work in is made up of the X, Y, and Z axes. You will notice that if your object or line is perfectly aligned with one of these axes, it will change color to match that axis. This means you're moving correctly and parallel along that axis. See here, the line is green. This means the project is perfectly aligned with the x-axis. The same goes for the other two axes. See friends, as I told before, if a line turns green, it means it's parallel to the x-axis, which also means the line is perfectly straight. Here I drew one line in green and another in black. You can see that the green line is straight while the black line is not aligned. The same principle applies to the other two axes as well. Another important point is that when drawing lines, you can lock the direction using the arrow keys, up, down, left or right. This makes the line stay perfectly on the direction, so it's locked along the path you want. Friends, another important feature is zooming. You can use the mouse to scroll to zoom in or zoom out, getting closer or further from your model. If you press and hold the scroll wheel, it activates orbit, which allows you to rotate around your model. And for example, here I want to look around the shape. By pressing the scroll wheel, orbit is activated and I can rotate around it. And also, if you hold shift while pressing the scroll wheel, it activates pan, which lets you move the view or the model in any direction. And for all of these actions, there are also keyboard shortcuts. For example, O activates orbit and H activates pan. These shortcuts make navigating your model much faster and easier. Now let's start with the large tool set together. As you can see, this tool set is divided into different sections separated by lines at the bottom of each group of tools. We will start with the second section first, so that later we can go back to the first section and understand it better. This way, it will be easier for you to follow and grasp everything. We will start with the line tool, which has the keyboard shortcut L. By clicking on it or pressing the shortcut, the line tool is activated and you can draw lines anywhere you want in your model. Or you can draw any shape you want. At first it will be 2D and later we will learn how to turn it into 3D. And guys, we can draw any shape we want in 2D first using the line tool. The second tool is freehand, which is basically the line tool in freehand mode. It lets you draw freely, just like using a pen. So you can create any shape by hand. The next tool we have is the rectangle tool. With this command, we can easily draw any rectangular or any square shape. Guys, seen here, when drawing, the point where you click becomes the reference point and the shape is drawn from there. But if you hold the control key while drawing, the point becomes to the center and the shape will be drawn from the center outward in all directions. We can also draw this along the y-axis as well. And the keyboard shortcut for this tool is R. You can simply press R on your keyboard to activate the rectangle tool. The next tool is the rotated rectangle. With this tool, you can draw a rectangle at a specific angle. And for example, when I click here to start drawing the rectangle, it asks for the angle, meaning at what angle do you want to draw this rectangle, okay? And also, if you look at the bottom right corner, you can also type the values manually. The first input is the length and weight of the rectangle, and the second input is the angle. You can also type the dimensions when using the rectangle tool that I explained earlier. And first, select the tool and click once on the workspace, then simply type the dimensions, for example 20 by 20, and it will create a perfect square with those exact measurements. Another example, if you type 50 by 100, it will create a rectangle that is 50 units wide and 100 units long. The next tool is the circle tool. With this tool, we can draw a circle anywhere we want with any radius we choose. By default, a circle in SketchUp is made up of 24 segments, and if we go to Model Info, we can see that the value here. In this default state, the circle may not look perfectly smooth. To make it smoother, we can increase the number of segments. The way to do this is very simple. After selecting the circle tool, type the number of segments you want. For example, 50, and then type S and press enter. This will create a smoother and more refined circle. Now look at this part. You can see how much smoother and cleaner this new shape looks. By changing the number of segments, we can actually create different shapes using this tool. For example, if you type 5 A's and press enter, it will create a pentagon. And if you type 3 A's, it will create a triangle. So by simply adjusting the segments, you can generate different polygon shapes. And guys, the next tool is the polygon tool, which by default creates a hexagon. As you can see, the sides are drawn based on the circle. If you hold the control key, it changes the orientation, and the polygon will be drawn differently in relation to the circle. Guys, in the next section we have the arc tool. With this tool we first define the center point and the radius, and then it draws the arc for us. Friends, the next tool is the pi tool. It works similar to the arc tool by creating an arc, but with one key difference. It creates a fill surface, while the arc tool only draws a curved line and does not create a surface. The next one is 2-point arc. With this tool you define only 2 points and it draws an arc between them. This tool is very useful in SketchUp, and this is one of the most commonly used arc tools. You just mark the start and end points of the arc, and then you can either set the radius by moving the mouse or type the exact radius manually. Guys, just like we did with the circle tool, you can increase the number of the segments for this arc as well, which makes the shape smoother and more refined. And just seeing here, I created this arc with 70 segments, and now it looks much smoother and cleaner. The next tool is the 3-point arc. With this tool, you need to specify 3 points to create the arc. So friends, that completes the second section of the large tool set, which we explained tool by tool. Now we will move on the first section. The first tool in this section is the select tool. The default mode you see here is already the select tool. Sometimes if you're using another command, for example the rectangle tool, and you try to click on an object, it will draw a rectangle instead of selecting it. So first you need to activate the select tool, and then you can select the object you want. and also the keyboard shortcut for select is the spacebar. The next option is freehand select. This allows you to select objects in a free and flexible way instead of using the rectangle section method. The next tool is the eraser tool. With this tool you can delete any extra lines in your model. For example, this is a floor plan and we can use the eraser tool to remove the extra lines between the walls. Guys, here I will just use the push-pull tool to make it 3D, and later I will explain it to you in detail. So just watch for now and pay attention for the important parts. We already explained this before, that the keyboard shortcut for the rectangle tool is R. The next tool is the paint bucket tool, which we use to apply materials. When I click on it, it opens the default tray, which contains different sections. For now, we will focus only on the material section, and I will explain the other sections to you later. Guys, we have many different types of materials, and we can use any of them on our model as we like. Here we need to adjust the size of the material in the edit section. Since I created this model without scaling, it's very large. We need to enter a large number here so that the material matches the scale of the model correctly. If you want to apply a material to the entire model with one click, first select the whole model and then apply the material. Guys, the next tool is used when we want to make a model a component. When you create it, the entire model becomes a single object instead of having each face or part separate. Here we can give a name to this component. Friends, look, here we have another tool called make group. Groups and components do almost the same thing, but there is one key difference. Let me explain with an example. To make a copy of any of these, we use the move tool, which has the keyboard shortcut aim. After activating move, hold the Ctrl key to make a copy instead of moving the original. Once the copy is created, you can type the number of copies you want and then type X and then enter, and it will create that many copies for you. When you make a component and make changes to one copy, the changes apply to all copies. But with a group, this doesn't happen. Changes only affect that one group. And sometimes, if we want to make a single component unique so that changes affect only that copy and not the others, we first choose make unique and then we can make the changes. The next tool here is tags. If you have worked with AutoCAD, you know about layers. Tag in SketchUp work in the same way. They are very useful because we can organize our model with layers, which makes modeling much simpler and more effective. Look at this example, it makes everything very clear. Guys, here the keyboard shortcut F is for offset. We will go over this tool in detail later, and I will show you exactly how to use it. This was the end of the first section, which was tags. We can also find tags in the default tree for easy access. Now let's move on the third section. The first tool here is move, which we already discussed. Its keyboard shortcut is M. If one of these objects is not a group or a component, and when you place them on the top of each other, they will stick together. And if you want to deselect a line, hold down the shift key and click on it. Guys, the next tool which we use a lot in SketchUp, and also it's very important in SketchUp, is the push-pull tool. We use it to create 3D shapes, and also we have already used it many times. Its keyboard shortcut is P. Guys, once we give one part a certain height, if we want the other to have the same height, we just need to double click on them, and it will match automatically. Guys, here is a golden tip that you should not miss. As you can see, the height is very large because we work without scaling. And if we want to resize the model to a specific scale, we use the tape measure tool. Simply select a part of the model, type the desired measurement, and then the entire model will scale accordingly. Guys, another important thing is if you ever lose your model because it's very small or hard to see, you can use this tool. It will zoom and center the view directly on your model so you can find it immediately. Guys, in push-pull you can also type the height as well. When you select the face, then you can type the height and enter. Friends, some surfaces are curved or circular, and with the regular push-pull tool in SketchUp, you cannot extrude them. In this case, you would need a plugin called Joint Push-Pull, but at this stage, it's not necessary. First, you should learn all the basic SketchUp tools, and later you can use this plugin. All these plugins have been taught in my channel Arch Jamshid, and you can watch the plugin playlist and learn them for free. The next tool is rotate. With this tool, we can rotate an object in different directions. We can also type in the exact angle if we want to rotate the object by a specific amount. In here, we want to copy this object around this circle like an array. We can use the rotate tool. After rotating, hold down the Ctrl key to make a copy, then type the number of copies you want, and then type X and press enter. This will create the same number of copies evenly spaced around the circle. The next tool is the scale. We can use it to resize objects or models, making them smaller or larger as needed. Guys, look here. Each scale point behaves differently. The corner points will resize the entire model evenly, making it bigger or smaller in all directions. Other points only scale in the direction of the handle, affecting the model in the specific direction only. The next tool is Follow Me, which is very commonly used in SketchUp. Here is how it works. First, you need to draw a profile and define a path. Then the tool extrudes the profile along the path. In exterior design, this is often used for roof edges. In this example, you can see clearly how it works. First, we have to draw the profile. and then click on the roof. By clicking on the roof, we define the path, meaning we extruded it along the edges of the roof. As you can see, it extruded very smoothly and easily. We can also extrude it along any path we want by clicking and dragging with the mouse. The next tool is offset. With this tool we can create copies of edges. If you have used AutoCAD, you are already familiar with offset. As you can see in these examples, it becomes very clear how it works. The next option is axis or origin. We can move the current axis to any part of the model by specifying two directions, which helps us to work more accurately in the area. The next tool is flip. With this tool we can mirror an object and change its direction along different axes. The next tool is the tape measure. With this tool, we can check the dimension of any part of the model. One of its other uses, as I mentioned before, is that we can resize the entire model using it. The next tool is dimension. With this tool, we can display the measurements of any part of our model. The next tool is the protractor. We mainly use it to draw guidelines, which we can later use in our modeling to make the work much easier and more accurate. Guys, the next tool is text. I mainly use it as a leader to write notes or a specification for a part of the model or project. For example, if this is the top of a building with glass inside, I can use the text tool as a leader to write a note like this part is glass. Guys, the next tool is section. We use this when we want to cut through a part of the model, especially 3D models, to see the inside. At the end, I will show this tool much more clearly in a fully completed project, so you can see exactly how it works. Look guys, I brought a worked up model for you, and here I will demonstrate the section more clearly. Look friends, we were able to create a really great section from this project, and also we can use it for any kind of presentation for this project. Friends, this entire project is currently a group, and we have already learned what's a group. If we want to take everything out of the group, we can exclude it. Guys, the next tool is 3D text. With this tool, we can create text in 3D and place it directly in our model. Friends, look carefully at how we place the 3D text on the building. And here we are using most of the tools we have learned so far. Guys, all of these tasks can be done using the tools we have learned. Watch carefully, and this itself is a kind of practice for these tools. The next tool is Orbit, which we explained at the beginning of the video. It rotates our view around the model, and also its keyboard shortcut is U. Guys, the next tool is Pan, which we also explained at the beginning of the video, and we use it to move the view in any direction, and also its keyboard shortcut is H. Next we have Zoom, which we use to zoom in or zoom out. There's also zoom window, which works slightly differently. By selecting a specific area, it zooms directly into that part. Guys, we use these tools when we have lost our model on the screen, and it brings us directly back to the model, so we can see it immediately. Guys, we use this tool when we want to return to a previous camera view. It's mostly used in interior designs, especially when we lost track of the view we were working on. And let's see in this example. For example, if you are working on an interior design and suddenly we lose the view, by clicking this tool, we can return to the exact view immediately. Guys, here we have look around. The camera's position stays fixed, but it rotates the view. It's mostly used in interior designs to look around without moving the camera. Guys, here we have camera position, which shows us how the building looks from a certain distance and at a human height. We can also set this height manually by typing in the value we want. The next tool is walk. This tool lets us move through the project as if we are walking inside it. It's like taking real steps inside the building. However, it's not used very often in real modeling. The next tool is field of view. It controls the angle at which we see the project. The default and standard value is 35 degrees, but we can change it depending on how wide or narrow we want the view to be. Here we have 3D warehouse. From here, we can download ready-made models and objects and use them in our own projects. It helps us save time and add detailed components quickly to our designs. Here, if we click yes, the model will be downloaded directly into the current project that we are working on. But if we click no, it will be downloaded as a separate SketchUp file instead. Guys, there is a daily download limit in the 3D warehouse, 5 models per day. I have already reached the limit today, so I cannot download any more models until tomorrow. The next option is the extension warehouse. From here we can download external plugins like the giant push-pull I mentioned earlier in this video. For now, you don't need it because first you should master the basic SketchUp tools. Look, FaceUp is an external plugin in SketchUp, so we can download it for free from here. For now, you don't need it because first you should master the basic SketchUp tools. Friends, these were all the essential tools you need to work on a project along with the basics of SketchUp. Now, let's practice all the tools we have learned on this model together so we can understand and master them better. Guys, I'm doing all these changes because they are actually a practice exercise for you. In this way, you can better understand and get comfortable using the tools we have learned. Alright friends, that brings us to the end of this tutorial. From start to finish, we have gone through all the essential SketchUp tools and learned how to use them in real projects. If you didn't fully understand or remember all the tools the first time, that's completely fine. Watch the video again, practice step by step, and make sure you really master them. The more you practice, the easier it will become, and you will feel confident using these tools in your own projects. Remember, these exercises are designed for you to get more comfortable with SketchUp's basics and tools before moving on the more advanced techniques or plugins. Once you have practiced and understood everything here, you will be ready to explore more videos and tutorials on my channel. Here at Arch Jamshid, I share completely free tutorials not only on SketchUp basics but also on powerful plugins that can make your workflow faster and more professional. So don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications and explore all my videos. Practice, watch and learn. That's the way to master SketchUp and its plugins fully. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial where we will continue learning and building amazing projects together.